Hey everyone, this is the Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today for a quick astrological analysis on the late rapper PnB Rock, who was born on December 9th, 1991, and who was killed yesterday on September 13th, 2022. So PnB Rock was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he died in California. Now, I don't have his birth time, so I don't know what houses these planets are in. But I will say this. When I think about death at a distance from someone's home, I look at the 9th house. And I look at where Mars is located relative to that 9th house. PnB Rock was born on December 9th, so that makes him a Sagittarius. And Sagittarius rules the 9th house. And I see Mars right next to his sun in the 9th house. So he has Mars and the sun in the 9th house. He also has Jupiter in Virgo, which means Jupiter is squaring his sun as well. Okay, so he has Jupiter square sun and Jupiter square Mars. When it comes to Jupiter square sun, this is usually somebody who overestimates their abilities, somebody who's overconfident, who's too optimistic, who takes things for granted, someone who has a difficult time saying no to anything and anyone. This is someone who wants the freedom to be able to take on many responsibilities or do whatever they want to do when they feel like doing it. They don't feel like they have to change or adjust to anything, any circumstance, any situation, any person, right? Because when we're dealing with the squares, right? Squares to me are these are people who have a difficult time learning or adjusting or adapting. Okay, so who they are is out of alignment to where they need to be or where they want to be. They have to work extra hard to achieve a certain goal because they don't like to adapt or change to circumstances or to people or expectations. They want to do what they want to do. Not to say this is his fault, right? But I've read in the past that he's had encounters with this type of criminal element in the past where people were threatening him or trying to rob him or whatever, right? And instead of adjusting his behavior and not wearing as much jewelry and not being as flashy, he doubled down and was stubborn with what he wanted to do, and that attracted violence to him. I don't know much about PnB Rock, but I think that violence and danger was a big part of his life, mainly because his Mars is so close to his sun, and Mars conjunct sun, that's almost like an Aries. That's someone who invites danger and excitement to their lives, right? That is somebody who's not afraid of death in many instances. This is somebody who is not, afraid of fighting. They don't mind killing people if they have to. This is a survivalist. They're not afraid of anybody, and they dare anyone to try to fuck with them, period. So I wouldn't be surprised if throughout his life he's had brushes with violence and crime and things like that, because the way he moves makes people feel some kind of way about him. Okay, when I see Mars and the sun square Jupiter, and this is crossing Venus and Saturn, this is somebody who feels like they should not have to sacrifice anything that they have acquired or earned because they got it through their hard work, energy, and effort. They shouldn't have to wear less jewelry. They shouldn't have to, be humble or act as if they have nothing in order to make somebody else feel better, right? So with Saturn square Venus, this is someone who could have been deprived financially, somebody who could have been born poor, or someone who had to work really hard and make painful sacrifices to get the things that they desire, okay? Venus is desire and the things that we want, and Saturn is, compromise and sacrifice and slavery and, loss, okay? Venus is also the ability to negotiate. This is somebody who does not want to negotiate. I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm going to go where I want to go. I'm going to be with who I want to be with. I'm going to floss. I'm going to flaunt. I'm going to be flashy, because guess what? I worked hard for this. And if you feel some kind of way about it, that's too goddamn bad. I'm not changing nothing. And if anybody wants some smoke, come bring it, right? I don't know who he is, and I don't know much about him, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was his attitude. I hope I'm wrong about that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not wrong, because again, Mars is conjunct the sun square Jupiter. This is somebody who would not have security around them because they think they're invincible and nobody's going to touch them because he's a celebrity. So apparently he had no security around him, and he was in the hood okay, in a bad neighborhood that had several robberies and homicides in the weeks prior. So here he is in an expensive car, right, with expensive jewelry, flossing and stunting and flashing, and now you're going to confront obstacles, blocks, and issues and challenges because of your need to show off the things that you value. Okay, this is where I see this cross happening. Venus, value; Sun, identity, physical body; Mars, competition, aggression, violence; Jupiter, over-exaggeration, optimism; and Saturn, sacrifice. It's almost like he sacrificed himself in order to attain the things that he values. And that's not usually a bad thing when Mars is not involved. Mars is involved because this square between Saturn and Venus is intersecting a square between the Sun, Mars, and Jupiter. So there's a connection between the things he values, right? His girl, women, money, status, fame, whatever. His identity, fighting, conflict, jealousy, and then Saturn gets involved. Karmic debt. This is paying a hefty price for not willing to compromise with this square. Okay? When you have a square with Saturn, you better learn how to adapt and adjust as quickly as possible, because depending on the aspects of other planets, this could lead to a lot of dysfunction, trauma, danger, and chaos in your life. Okay? Now, we also see that there's an in-house conjunction with Pluto and Venus. They're in the same sign. Again, I don't have his ascendant, so I don't know the houses that these planets are falling in. However, Venus and Pluto together, this is, painful transformations and crises associated to the things you value, right? This is somebody getting robbed for their jewelry. This is somebody getting robbed for their estate. I believe Sam Cooke had this aspect as well. Either he had Pluto aspecting Venus or Pluto in his second house, which is ruled by Venus. Okay, so this is somebody willing to change you permanently, to transform you from a living person to a dead person in order to get the things that you value, that they also value. This is a competition or a fight to the death for one's resources. And Pluto is other people's money. And Pluto is in Scorpio in his natal chart. So not only is Pluto at home, right? Pluto is squaring a debilitated or weak Venus, right? This is strife, conflict, drama, pain, loss, crises, and transformations associated with the things that you value. What does he value? The second house stuff, okay? Money, jewelry, cars, a beautiful woman, all this stuff is correlated with his death, okay? It's correlated with painful transformational experiences and tragedies, right? Now, people are asking if his girlfriend is responsible for, his untimely passing. Venus is involved here, but Venus could be the woman and it could also be his money. It could be one or the other, but there is a connection with Venus and his death, okay? The things that he values that somebody else wants, and painful transformations and losses, right? We have Saturn, Mars, and Pluto, intense or stressful aspects with each other in his natal chart. If we look at the transits from September 12th, 2022, and you guys can see it on your screen, right? The Sun is in Virgo, which is squaring his Sun. That's the physical body, okay? Mars is in Gemini, which is opposing his Sun. So now we have Sun square Mars, okay? And we have Mars in Gemini squaring his natal Jupiter in Virgo. A Mars square Jupiter transit, does invite more conflict and strife into your life. And again, this is someone who overestimates their capabilities of defending themselves in the event of conflict. I'm not saying he's wrong in doing that. I'm not saying you should be afraid to, go out and do your own thing. What I am saying is that he was playing with fire. And I think that he may have survived brushes with criminals and danger and theft in the past. And I think that he thought that he was going to survive it again because he had done so before. I don't think this is his first encounter with this type of element at all. And the fact that he went into a Roscoe's in the hood, there are several Roscoe's in California that he could have gone to that were in safer neighborhoods. But he wanted to be in the neighborhood, in my opinion, with people who would envy him. Because again, we have Mars in Gemini square Venus in Virgo. And both of these planets are squaring his Sun and his Mars. Okay? So this, to me, indicates somebody who wanted to be seen and who wanted to be envied by others, okay? Mars isn't just about competition in sports. It's about competition when it comes to a person's value, especially when Venus is involved in the square. So Mars square Venus people are usually competitive with others, or they may be jealous of what others have, or they want other people to be jealous of them because they have what other people want. This is somebody who can't enjoy their wealth or success unless other people are admiring it, okay? Other people with less resources. It's about competition. You're not going to compete with people who have their own money, right? You're not going to be able to floss and stunt in a wealthier neighborhood because these people already have money. They're not impressed with your chains and your expensive car and your pretty girl. They get this a dime a dozen. It's more impressive to dudes in the hood who are hungry and starving and broke and jealous, and it is what it is. So I think he chose this particular spot, in my opinion, because he felt like it would give him a bit more clout, esteem, and respect, and he would be able to get more shine in that community, right? As opposed to going to a wealthier community. And I'm not blaming him for this at all, but he seemed to have a difficult time adjusting his behavior to the realities of his new environment. He has Mars and the Sun in the sign of long distance travel. This is violence associated with long distance travel. And Mars is also gunshots. Mercury is also conjunct Mars in his chart. This is somebody who is rash in thinking. Someone, again, who overestimates their abilities. Someone who wants to smoke. I'm not saying it's his fault, but this is somebody who's not afraid of confrontation, okay? And Mercury conjunct Mars is often confrontation or conflict or drama when someone is traveling. I'm not sure if PnB Rock lived in California. From Philadelphia, that's a long way. It's across the country. He's 3,000 miles away. That is long distance travel. And Mars and Mercury and the Sun are here. And it's squaring Jupiter, and that is intersecting with Saturn, square Venus. So this, I believe, contributed to his death. I don't think his girlfriend is the only reason why this happened. Her sharing the location, which again is the 9th house, right? There's speculation about that. And to go back to what I said about Mercury before, Mercury is short distance travel. So you have the planet of short distance travel, which is Mercury, in a sign of long distance travel. So I don't know if he lived in Los Angeles at this point and he was just driving to a local store, a local restaurant in his neighborhood that was not that far away. But this is not where he was born. So it's still 9th house issues. It's still issues within his community as well, right? So now it's like he's far away from home, 9th house, but this is being attacked within your neighborhood, within your community, right? I don't know if he lived here. I should have done more research, but I did not because I'm not that interested in him as a rapper. I've never even heard of him until yesterday, but I do think this is a great opportunity to figure out what could have been the causes or some of the contributing factors to him being killed at such a young age. Now, we have to remember that correlation does not necessarily mean causation. Even though Venus and Saturn are together in a square, right? They're communicating with each other in a tense aspect. It does not mean that his girl and or his jewelry was responsible. I don't know. I think it's his attitude about both things. I think the fact that he didn't have security, that he was too optimistic, and that he had a competitive nature when it came to showing off what he had. Because he could have just gone to Roscoe's in a regular beat up old car with no jewelry. Why did he have to floss and shine at Roscoe's? It wasn't like he was at, a celebrity event on the red carpet. Why do you have to go to your local restaurant where you're eating food with a bunch of jewelry on? I'm not saying that it's his fault for getting killed at all, because unfortunately we live in a situation in our community where men see other men and men see other women as food. So they feed on each other. We're now self-cannibalizing. So you have a bunch of dusty, jealous men who are willing to kill another man because they're jealous of what he has. However, I think PnB Rock wanted to be hated on. A lot of men in our community want to be envied. That makes them feel more valuable. Women do too. This is why they get so many plastic surgeries so that other women can envy them. That's a cultural problem. So this is not his fault for wanting to floss and shine. That's not really the issue. The problem is we have a culture and a society where men are too lazy to work for their own shit, so they have no problem stealing it from somebody else who worked their ass off to get it. Okay? That's the issue. Not PnB Rock wearing the jewelry. Yes, he could have adjusted his behavior, right? He could have mitigated this square by adapting to circumstances of his fame and wealth and the dangers of being in a whole different city with not knowing anybody and putting on a bunch of jewelry around a bunch of hungry, starving, desperate, coon black men who are willing to kill you for nothing. Okay? He could have adjusted his behavior to make sure he was not in danger of being assassinated for his trinkets. Fine. But this is not his fault. This is not his girl's fault. This is the fault of the culture that we live in. Okay? The 9th house is also the house of ideology, philosophy, belief systems, okay? If your belief system says that you're valuable because of what you have, then more than likely with all these intersecting aspects with Mars and Venus and Jupiter and Saturn, you're going to have to defend what you value, okay? Whether it's your beliefs, whether it's your stuff, whether it's your girl, you're going to have to fight to hold on to the things that you value, okay? Especially with a square. Especially with a square in opposition, even with a conjunction in some instances. You are going to have to make sacrifices or fight for the things that you value. That's what I see in his chart. And he was not willing to sacrifice anything to hold on to what he valued. And what did he value? His jewelry, his woman, his, flossing and shining and stunting all other men, right? He didn't care about the environment. It didn't matter to him. He kind of wanted to smoke, in my opinion, too. Or and I'm not saying he was looking for it. With the Mars on the Sun thing, I don't think he was afraid of it at all, And with Mercury in his detriment and Sagittarius, in between Mars and the Sun, he was not thinking correctly. His Mars was square Jupiter. He was too optimistic. He took things for granted. He thought he was safe when he was not. He thought that his clout or his fame or whatever he had would protect him from the goons and the coons out there. That is a problem. So he has a debilitated Mercury on top of a weak Venus. Okay? So the way that he thought about the things that he valued was creating more conflict for him. It was making his life more difficult. And again, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. We have a community of dusty, lazy men. That's not his fault. But instead of trying to floss and stunt and brag, he could have been more humble, right? Been less ostentatious, okay? Been a bit more discreet about his wealth. But he worked hard for it. So he wanted other people to see the fruits of his labor. He did not want to sacrifice showing off what he had in order to hold on to it. Because he only valued it. It became more valuable to him if other people saw it. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so I just had a long meeting. So I'm going to try to get back on track here. And I'm going to close it out really quickly. It seems like PnB Rock was very stubborn in his desires to flaunt his wealth or to hold on to the things that he valued. It seems that there was a connection with traveling and violence, as well as the things that he desires and violence, or other people wanting the things that he desires, because he has Pluto Pluto conjunct Venus natally. And people with Pluto conjunct Venus in their natal charts, they're usually very possessive. They can be very dominating and controlling of other people as well. And they also have to fight for the things that they value, or other people feel as if they have the right to take control of the Venus Pluto native. Okay, so in the case of PnB Rock, he had to fight to hold on to the things that he values, and those things caused transformation in his life. His values and his desires transformed him. Okay, it may have transformed him from being a low-level rapper to being a celebrity, right? Or someone who was relatively unknown to being someone who was famous and rich, or from someone who was poor to someone who had a lot of money. So, Pluto transits aren't always negative. It's just sometimes if you have Pluto aspecting certain planets, that are debilitated. Sometimes the debilitated planets cause loss, okay? They require adjustments. And if you don't adjust, then the losses will increase and they'll become greater depending on the aspects to that particular planet that's debilitated. So if Pluto is conjuncting Venus, then more than likely there's going to be some painful transformations, crises, and tragedies associated with the things that you value. Even with Saturn. If Saturn is square Venus, then again, there's a level of sacrifice that's required to either get the things that you desire or to hold on to them, okay? This is somebody who worked hard for what they wanted. And as a result, they're a bit more stubborn about letting it go because their values are deeply entrenched in the things that they have acquired. Money, fame, status, pretty girl, nice car, jewelry, all that stuff. I think that became a part of his identity and who he was, and he was unwilling to let go of that, or at least be a little bit more humble to, ensure that he's not a target for thirsty, jealous, broken, dusty men. But again, PnB Rock has a debilitated Mercury conjunct Mars. He may be impatient or irrational when it comes to thinking things through, right? He may not check off all the boxes to ensure that his safety is protected. Because again, with Mars conjunct Sun, these people invite a lot of fights, obstacles, drama, competition, animosity, excitement, energy, magnetism. They're very brave people. And when you have a person who's brave, but this bravery is not checked because the person has Sun square Jupiter, which makes them overestimate their abilities, right? They're overestimating how safe they are. They're overestimating how much they can handle. And this is especially dangerous because Mars is now involved, okay? And Mars brings about violence, or at the very least, danger and conflict. And that's for anybody with a Mars conjunct Sun, Mars square Sun, Mars opposite Sun aspect in their chart. So again, he may have wanted the smoke, or he subconsciously, he wasn't thinking clearly. Mars in Gemini is opposite his natal Mars in Mercury. This again is someone who is irrational, someone who's quick to anger, quick to fight. This is someone who does not think things through. They're in a rush, they're impatient. And I think that he did not cross his T's and dot his I's when he was figuring out where he wanted to eat. He did not look at the situation that he was in as far as him being a celebrity and him going into the hood, into a neighborhood where crime is rampant. Okay, again, he may have received threats before. He may have been through situations before that he managed to survive and escape. So he was pushing his luck because again, his Sun is square his Jupiter natally. And he's a Sagittarius, so he's ruled by Jupiter natally. So he thought that the luck that brought him the success that he had was going to protect him from imminent danger. All right. And it wasn't the case, unfortunately. I don't think his girlfriend is responsible for this, but there's a connection between desires, romance, love, and his property and his resources and the things he values. And, him having to fight to hold on to those things, him having to sacrifice in order to hold on to his life, right? So PnB Rock had Saturn in the 3rd house from his Sun, squaring Venus in the 12th house from his Sun. The 12th house is the house of hidden enemies, okay? It's the house of self-sabotage and undoing. So with Venus being here, the things that he valued may have contributed to him attracting secret enemies, okay? All right, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.